we're late to the party, but when we come to the party, we come in large numbers. And that's what I see happening to crypto because of India, maybe in the next 2 to 3 years. If the pace of development keeps up, and we are able to reach a stage where mass audiences can use crypto products, I think India will be one of the biggest contributor, because the rate at which awareness of crypto is spreading today, it's mind-boggling. Tens and thousands of people discover crypto every day in India now, and that's going to just bubble up. Tech, the network effect model, when it catches up in the next 6 to 12 months, it's going to bubble into tens and millions of people in India understanding crypto.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Masari's Unqualified Opinions. This episode of Unqualified Opinions is brought to you by Luca. You can save money this tax season with Luca Tax. It's the only time-tested crypto tax software that allows you to calculate capital gains and losses and see the results using 3 different accounting methods side by side, all for free. You only pay if you want to see their detailed tax reports and submit your forms using their software. Stay out of trouble. Use promo code MasariTax and save even more this tax season at LucaTax, LukkataX.com, using promo code MasariTax. Do your taxes. Bitstamp is a big supporter of Masari. They're the original global cryptocurrency exchange, and since 2011 have been a preferred exchange for serious traders and investors. They've got a professional grade platform with a NASDAQ matching engine, some of the best APIs in the industry, and an advanced trade view interface on web and mobile. They've got unmatched customer service, no bots, real live people around the clock helping you out via phone, email, and social media. So you can download the Bitstamp app from the App Store or Google Play and visit bitstamp.net/pro to start trading today. That's bitstamp.net/pro. Crypto.com is a big support of ours. How much are you paying for your crypto purchase? Crypto.com is now waiving 3.5% credit card fees for all crypto purchases. And apart from that, you can also get a great deal on food and grocery shopping with up to 10% back when you pay with their MCO Visa card. Don't have a credit card? You can buy a gift card on Crypto.com app, get 20% back. Just download the Crypto.com app today. Pretty easy to remember that domain, Crypto.com, and enjoy offers until the end of September. And then finally, this episode is brought to you by Choice by Kingdom Trust. If you own Bitcoin and have a retirement account, but don't own Bitcoin in your retirement account, you want to get on that. Just check out Choice by Kingdom Trust, which allows you to hold Bitcoin, stocks, ETFs, gold, and more all in one place. The first 1,000 users who open a Choice IRA will receive $62 in free Bitcoin. You can join the waitlist at retirewithchoice.com/Masari and share with your friends to secure the bag and get that free Bitcoin. Podcast listeners also receive extra points to move up their waitlist. So again, check out retirewithchoice.com/Masari. We're going to kick off today with a conversation I've been looking forward to for a while with Nischal Shetty. He is one of the leading entrepreneurs in India. WazirX is part of the Internet and Mobile Association of India. It's one of the largest exchanges, crypto exchanges in India. So a lot to talk about regarding both the Indian crypto scene and the general performance of Bitcoin and other assets in emerging markets. But in particular, India is interesting because it is the largest democracy in the world. They've had a number of interesting macro events over the course of the last year, including a demonetization, where many people were stuck in bank lines trying to redeem their cash after the government slashed the maximum size paper currency. They have a cultural affinity for gold. We're going to see exactly what that translates to in terms of digital gold, and talk about quite a few topics that might be of interest as we think about emerging market interest in crypto beyond just China and East Asia. So the South Asian perspective, long overdue for this podcast, and I'm excited to talk a little bit more about it. Nischal, thank you for. Yeah, great to connect here. So why don't we start just by having you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about WazirX and some of the work that you've been doing over the last couple of years. Maybe start just with the origin story personally, how you fell down the crypto rabbit hole.
Sure. So to give a bit of a background about me, I started my career as a software engineer, writing code for a typical corporate job. And then eventually I quit my job and started up a social media management app called Crowdfire. And this was way back in 2010 when Twitter was still new, and building on top of the Twitter API was like a really new thing, the whole API platforms and stuff. The app went viral, signed up millions of users on that. And while this was happening, I was also in the whole zone of finding what was new in tech all the time, reading every blog that spoke about new techs and stuff. So I came across Bitcoin way early, right in 2009. I even vaguely remember trying to mine Bitcoin on my PC back then. But it was just that, just coming across it, trying it out, and then moving on. Then I again got into Bitcoin in 2012 and 2013 when a couple of crypto wallets started emerging in that space. Again, tried out a few of those early wallets and sent Bitcoins to my friends, received some, and then again I just let it be. Then in 2017 is when the whole I got in the rabbit hole such that I've never been able to come out of it. So I would say my initiation into crypto happened in 2017. And in 2018, I built WazirX. My idea was to build sort of a way for people in India to easily onboard to crypto. And when I experienced global products and products that were being built in our country, I saw a stark difference in the whole user experience. And that motivated me to build something which everyone in India could easily onboard to crypto. And that's how I ended up building WazirX.
And so what year was this that you started the company?
WazirX, I started in 2018.
Okay. Now, the India regulatory environment is a bit of a black box. And, I know kind of firsthand in having been an early investor in Unicoin, one of the early exchanges in India, how frequently the government has appeared to flip-flop, not just over details or about ICOs, but just blanket bans or non-bans of crypto in the country over the last several years. Can you talk about the evolution? I mean, you started WazirX in 2018, but leading up to that, can you just talk about exactly what the evolution of the legality of crypto services looked like for the few years prior to that? Because I think there's some misconceptions maybe around Bitcoin and crypto's general status, or at least what its path to acceptance and credibility has been, and whether there are still outstanding risks in the country for those that are actually participating, particularly those who are offering services like you are.
Yeah, I think so. Let's look at this. 2018, in fact, was very, very crucial to the whole, I would say, regulatory aspect of crypto in India. But as you were talking about the years before that, I think the government as such has never come out with a statement saying you cannot deal with crypto or you cannot trade in crypto in India. There has never been an official statement by our government. But the Central Bank of India, which is the RBI, the Reserve Bank of India, they've always had these announcements, which was sort of like circulars where they cautioned the public against dealing with crypto, saying that cryptocurrencies are volatile and you might lose all your money. There's a lot of scam in the crypto ecosystem. So these were more of like, I would say, just announcements by the central bank. But there was never a stop to crypto trading or to crypto involvement. You were free to do it. So this was all the years before 2018. What happened in 2018 was that the Reserve Bank of India put out a circular saying none of the banks in the country can actually deal with any business or any individual who's dealing with cryptocurrencies. So this was like I would say, the moment where the whole industry had to, we took the legal route eventually, because we were not allowed access to banking, and that means that you cannot run your business easily in India in the crypto space. So this, for us, surprisingly, we launched on March 2018, and I think 3 weeks after our launch, the announcement happened from the RBI saying that you cannot deal with crypto exchanges in the country, none of the banks in the country. And we were like, we just launched, and we don't know now, after a couple of months we won't have bank accounts to operate our business. And that was the situation in India. uh, you want, I can go on about how this happened, but if you have any questions around the banking ban, I'm happy to discuss that first.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the end all be all, right? For 99% of users in crypto, the path to getting involved in the industry is making some fiat purchase of a given asset. Maybe the 1% will earn it or have it gifted to them or something like that. But the banking ban was pretty major. How did that come to be, and ultimately what was the wind down of that?
Right. So a few things happened with the banking ban. I think the first thing that happened was it was very surprising, the level of misinformation that was spread, because the ban. So even the term ban, to be precise, is not the right term to use here, because what the central bank said is that, see, the central bank in India, the Reserve Bank, can only manage other banks under them. They're just a regulator of other banks in the country. They do not, regulate people. They do not tell what people should do and should not do. All they can do is tell the banks what to do. So the Reserve Bank of India, what they said is none of the banks should deal with crypto businesses. That was the only thing. But the news that spread across the world in the media was that crypto is banned in India. So that was like the first thing where we had to fight a lot by putting out the right information, that there is no crypto ban in India. There is just a banking restriction in the country, that we as businesses cannot take banking. So I think the whole miscommunication, and that lasted for a long, long time. We had to, talk to everyone in the media, talk to everyone in not just the country but internationally, to tell them it's not a ban, it's a restriction on banking access. But narratives are narratives. What happened is it was assumed that there's a ban. Uh, what we decided is, how do we tackle this? The question was, ban or not, but how do we tackle? Because without banking access, we cannot, like you said, banking is the most important aspect for people to go from being no coiners to coiners. The first time you buy, you need fiat. So we said we could do two things. One is we could challenge this judgment in the Supreme Court of India, which we did as an organization, as an industry. So we are part of Internet and Mobile Association of India, which is IAMAI. So we put a court case, and we hope that the case would come to a conclusion within, let's say, 1 or 2 or 3 months. But we soon realized that this is going to be a long drawn battle, which, by the way, lasted for, I think, over 1.5 years. Now, in that time frame, there were two things you could do. Either you sit at home and not do anything and just hope that the court case is finally it comes to a conclusion and you win it. Or what we did was we introduced a peer-to-peer way for people to deal with cryptocurrencies. So while the banking ban restricted us as a business from having bank accounts, it did not stop you from having a bank account in the country. I mean, you as an individual could have a bank account. You can transfer money to anyone in the country. So what we did is we just connected you with the seller. So if you were buying crypto for the first time, we would connect you with someone else who was ready to sell it, and you could do direct bank transfers amongst each other. So as a company, we never had a bank account, but we still facilitated the buying and selling of cryptocurrencies in India when the banking ban lasted.
Yep. Now, what is the next step for the central bank? Because following this this victory in the Supreme Court in March, it doesn't feel like it's over, right? Like if the central bank and the powers that be want to regulate or significantly crack down on some type of activity, even if they lose at that level, usually what will happen is they'll kind of tweak their approach and then they'll come back with something that is a slightly less aggressive version of a crypto ban. At the same time, there's an opportunity to kind of re-engage and educate and help bridge the gap through self-regulation, right? And I believe that's what this organization has done. Can you talk about the strategy for kind of part two here? So you have this very critical victory to normalize crypto adoption and ensure that the services and the providers that are actually working to build the infrastructure, in the country aren't going to go to jail, right? And are going to have these, very extreme outcomes for pushing the technology. At the same time, it seems like there has to be a very fast follow to actually get the self-regulatory framework draft over the line and in a place where they're not going to continue to raise issues or worse, basically come with a slightly watered down version of the crypto ban that next time is either much more expensive or impossible to strike down.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're following multiple things right now. The first thing is, how do you ensure that the regulators in the country are comfortable with what you as an industry are doing? The industry is adopting some self-regulation. So what we want to do is, as part of the IMAI, is to get a set of pointers. It could be very simple, something as simple as simply following KYC processes, so that the regulators in our country, when they finally want to regulate this, ban is not the only thing that's going on in their mind, but the fact that the industry can self-regulate. Industry has put out some, X number of steps that they follow already. Because let's go a little back and think about why they want a ban. All the time they said that the reason for the ban is because there's either criminal activities being performed using cryptocurrencies, or there are these. It's hard for them to track the flow or the money flow in the country with crypto. So if you can solve these two things, I think most of the regulators in any country would be comfortable with that, which happens right from KYC and you following in all the AML policies. So as an industry, we are setting out all these simple guidelines for every crypto business to follow. The second part is we are also trying to engage with the regulators. We are trying to get meetings with them. Right now, the problem is there's a lockdown in our country because of the COVID-19 situation. So we are sort of a little slower on what we are doing. But I think the objective is to meet the regulators and tell them that, the thing is, what has happened for a long time in India is the crypto industry has sort of performed in the shadows. There's no one been upfront talking about crypto in the country. There's no one bringing a legitimate face as an organization, as an industry, is what we've been successful in doing in the last 2 years. For example, I've been openly running a campaign, India Wants Crypto. The objective was to spread the information about crypto and also have a voice and a face, and some legitimacy should be brought in the ecosystem. So I think now we have a lot of that. A lot of entrepreneurs in the country today who are in crypto, they openly talk about it. They're openly out there. Be it articles written on blog posts, on media, everyone's trying to go out now. And I think that's very, very important, because the more vocal we are, I think the more closer we get to regulatory success. So yeah, I think we are doing that. We have some guidelines. We have some very vocal stuff happening. We are all talking about crypto in the country. The third is we are also trying to meet our ministers, our elected representatives in the government, and I've met a few of them, and surprisingly, they've been very positive about crypto. They like the fact that crypto is innovative, and that it's a technology that India should adopt. So it's not all dark out here. It's a mix of both. It's just that I think in general, negative news travels faster than positive, and that's probably the only reason why we hear less of positive news about crypto in India right now.
Yeah, well, you have different filter bubbles within crypto by asset or by community, but you also have different filter bubbles by geography, right? So even a country like China, whose crypto ecosystem is on par, maybe even slightly larger than the United States, there are still tremendous misunderstandings of kind of how business works, what the ecosystem looks like, how exchanges are performing, and kind of what the net flows are. Not to mention that the lion's share of mining capacities in China. So if that's the case for China, you can imagine what that's like in Singapore and India and in all the smaller regions, even Japan, a larger economy. I find often because of language barriers, there are pretty significant differences in what people understand. While it's not all bad news, and in fact, you could think about this maybe as a catalyzing event in late 2016. What was the reaction and kind of general end user sentiment in crypto in late 2016, early 2017 during this kind of surprise demonetization effort from the central bank? Because I won't remember the exact denominations, but I think that there was a slashing in the size of the largest bill that people would have access to. It was something like 5x or 10x reduction in terms of the largest denomination available to cut down on illicit activity. At the same time, though, there was this operating in the shadows component to crypto. Was there a good chunk of behind the scenes activity? Was this something that was kind of top of everybody's mind in the crypto community as a potential opportunity? Or at that point, was there still too much fear to be overly public and to be seen as capitalizing on a movement that's ultimately was brought into effect to crack down on money laundering, right? So if crypto entrepreneurs just kind of raised their hand and said, "Oh, well, you can't launder through the banking system through cash anymore, but we're still right here and you can move much larger amounts," it probably would have raised some red flags. How was the general vibe around that? Because in the West, everybody said, "Oh, this is a perfect case study for why crypto is so important," right? This kind of oblivious mentality to what the reality actually was on the ground. Were we totally off?
I think, yeah, sort of, because if you 2016, crypto was not really the way it is today in India, where I would say everyone has at least heard of Bitcoin. That was not the case in 2016. That happened in, I think, the December bull run is where Bitcoin, at least as a term, became really popular. I think up until 2017, this was a very niche thing in the country. So I would say just really people, I mean, it would be hard for you to come across people who knew about Bitcoin and bought Bitcoin in 2016 in India. That's a very small niche of people. So even the press hardly wrote about it. I'll give you an example. If this demonetization happened today, this would be all over the press about how people will buy Bitcoins and it won't work because they'll just move to a digital asset and all those stuff. But that narrative did not exist in 2016. So I won't be surprised that maybe a small portion of people who knew about it or understood what Bitcoin was, maybe they tried to do this. But again, I would like to tell you that even back then, whatever we were not there as an exchange, but whatever exchanges existed in India in 2016, they still had KYCs. So I don't believe that crypto exchanges or crypto wallets in the country ever enabled it such that you could anonymously, let's say, buy crypto and go out or take the money out. I don't think that ever happened in India. It was always there was always KYC, and I think that's a good thing because it helps build trust in this ecosystem. Without KYC, you will have a lot of unwanted incidents happening, which we don't want as an industry.
Yep, of course. Where's the enthusiasm right now for assets beyond Bitcoin? I mean, I can make the argument that at a global scale, most everything is about speculation still. Bitcoin is far and away the most important asset right now. You have a couple of up and coming protocols in India. Matic's team is probably the largest, I believe. That's kind of based and very concentrated in India. But is it still just about Bitcoin, right? Are people just making their first purchases, or are you starting to see new communities of developers or other enthusiasts crop up around Ethereum or Matic or other ecosystems? Where is the heat beyond Bitcoin, if at all?
Yeah, see, if you were to look at this from an entry point of view, everyone, I would say almost everyone gets in for Bitcoin. So even now, the pull factor is Bitcoin. That's the I would say 90% of the people who sign up, even on our exchange, is because they want to buy their first Bitcoin. So that's the pull factor even today. Once you get into crypto with Bitcoin, after a point in time, see, the thing is, the beautiful thing about crypto is you don't stop at Bitcoin. Your curiosity peaks after you buy Bitcoin. So you start learning about what else exists in this space. And then you come across all the other altcoins. And then you get drawn into, of all the alts, I think Ethereum is the second biggest. After Bitcoin, I think it's Ethereum and then Tron, XRP have been like popular. So I think these 3 to 4 are the next set of coins that people discover, and some stick to 1 or 2 of them, and then some go deeper into this. So it filters down. I think 50% stick to Bitcoin; they never move to anything else. Then the other 20 to 30% go for the top altcoins, and then some trickle down to the next maybe 20, 30 top altcoins, and then you have a very small percentage, about 5%, who get into every kind of altcoin that you can think of. So that's the distribution. In terms of awareness, what I'm seeing in India is there's this 2 set of people. Some who are completely into crypto trading and speculation and probably in that direction. The other is into technology, and they're investing it in the future protocols being built, like Matic, for example, what you spoke about. All of these need a deeper level of understanding before you go into investments in those spaces, because you first need to understand what are these layer 2 solutions, what are the DeFi protocols. So those exist, but that's still on a smaller scale today in India.
India is fascinating with Bitcoin in particular for a couple of reasons. One, there is a relatively high inflation rate in the country. I think the last 12 months, there have been months where inflation was as low as 3% and as high as over 7%. So on the one hand, historically, the inflation rate has been higher than some of the Western economies who might be running it at 1-2% or even flat or slightly deflationary. On the other hand, there's also a strong cultural element of owning gold, in particular jewelry. I'm curious, if on the one hand, the inflation is not quite high enough, right? It's like right at the cusp, but it's not quite high enough to move the needle one way or the other. And then on the other hand, if as opposed to maybe Western countries where you talk about physical gold and it is thought of as primarily an investment versus culturally, the importance of actually wearing gold in India makes it for a completely different use case. Or if Bitcoin and digital assets are starting to attract folks that might have purchased gold or might be worried about inflation, does that have any bearing whatsoever, or are the majority of folks just drawn to the fact that this is an asset that's been wildly successful, it's grown 1,000x or whatever from when it was first kind of introduced and made available through some services in the country before the original crypto ban? What's kind of driving this, and how do you market? Because I'd imagine it's a different pitch than you might see from Europe or China or the US.
Yeah. See, if you look at Bitcoins has so many narratives and different narratives for different geographies. Because the narrative of Bitcoin as a better cash does not work in India, because the local banking system is so quick. I can send money to anyone in India today. I can send fiat within a few seconds. It does not matter what banks you have accounts with, and I don't have to pay anything. There's no transaction fee at all for me sending money to anyone, my friends and all. So that narrative is not what works here. What's working here is it's seen as the digital version of gold in a way, or a store of value, uh, and as an optional, a new kind of investment. Uh, think about the investment options that you have today. In general, it's either you can buy equity, or you can buy let's say the um, gold, uh, commodities, or you could buy properties, real estate. I think these are the only three options. Uh, and what is happening is the young generation of India, which is like a large population, they do not really connect with any of these traditional methods of investment, because I just feel that when I talk to people, they say it's so old school to invest in equities, or land or gold. But when it comes to crypto, they see technology first, and they get excited about it. They get excited about the fact that they're the ones who get to know, and their parents and their elders, they have to explain it to them. That's the fun part. You get it on the internet. In the early days of the internet, you used to go to the internet because no one else understood it. No one else got it. You could tell your friends that I browsed on the internet, I saw this on the internet. You could go back and brag about it. And that's what is happening to crypto in India. The early movers are bragging about the fact that they found something interesting, new, and it's different compared to what everyone else in the country has been investing in. That's boring. And I think that is the narrative that's going on really well out here. And people are going in to know what is this. I think the curiosity level is peaked right now in the country, where everyone's trying to understand what's this new thing. Because the old things are always boring. I have money to invest, but I don't want to invest in what my parents did, what my grandparents did. I want to invest in something new. And crypto is seen as a new class of investment that you can do.
Mm-hmm. So I think we got a couple of questions from folks in the audience. I want to get to. One is around infrastructure beyond just trading and making your first purchase. So things like lending and margin. How do you think about adding new assets on the one hand, new products and services on the other to the platform outside of the core exchange infrastructure?
So if you're asking about WazirX in particular, right now we are focused on the whole adoption part, where we want to onboard people easily to crypto. That's our single focus right now, because if you look at India, a very small portion of the country, very tiny portion of the country knows about Bitcoin or crypto, has access to it. So our first objective is how do we give more access to crypto in India, which means you have to make the time to buy your first crypto as low as possible. So I'm trying to bring it down to, let's say, maybe under 5 minutes. Where can I go and tell my friend who's never purchased crypto that you can buy and you can own crypto within 5 minutes now? We're trying to do that. So that's our first objective. As far as all these DeFi are concerned, I think I'm a big believer of the DeFi protocol, simply because I think what is happening in that space is very early, but I think it's magical. Being able to borrow and lend and not have anyone in between, just program, just code doing it. I think that's phenomenal. And the day that is really smoothened out and all these hacks and stuff, they become like old news, and it's all evolved. I think the world wouldn't go into borrowing and lending any other way than this. So I want to get in early, but I think it's a little too early for us. Right now, we want to crack the onboarding of people to crypto first, and then get into all these deeper DeFi aspects and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. We touched on this a little bit, but Shalika asks, how should Indian startups dwell in the current regulatory scenario in India? So I'll put a little bit of a spin on this. How can new entrants get involved with some of the efforts that you and this trade group are already actively involved with?
I think to start with, I'm always there on Twitter all the time, replying to people. So if you want any help, feel free to message me. I'm there. The other is, I think, the regulatory aspect. This problem exists everywhere in the country. There's no, I'm yet to come across any crypto entrepreneur who says I'm happy about the regulatory aspect in my country. I don't think that's happening. Everyone's, worried about it. But here's the fact that uh, it's a technology, and technology never gets banned. It gets adopted. Countries will adapt to it. It just takes longer. Every regulation takes a long time. So I think while we should be aware of it, it should not deter us from getting into building businesses. If you're building a business in the right direction, right way, I don't think you should be worried too much about. Just be aware about it. It's good to be aware that there are problems, regulatory problems, but all you can do is build and show to your country that great products can be built in this space in India, for example. I think that's what we are also trying to do. Our focus is, can we build something that helps people? Because the government will eventually see that there are 5 or 10 businesses in the country that are doing great in this ecosystem. Let's regulate. What happens is, if entrepreneurs don't start up, then the country has no motivation to get into regulating. Ban is so easy. Just ban it. I don't have to work as a regulator. But if you have 5 to 10 companies in the country that are doing great, then what happens is I'll have to work with them to regulate it. So I'm a great believer that more and more people should start in India, and this is an amazing space. It's so early. It's like I wish I had started an e-commerce site in 1995. But today, I think what you would wish 10, 15 years later is that you wish you were in crypto. So I think now is the time to be in crypto in India. I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Awesome. Well, that kind of touches on the last question that I want to ask, which is, what do you think might be the Indian ecosystem's unique contributions to crypto at a global scale, right? If you think about different regions of the world, I could argue that Argentina has become like a test bed for DeFi and stablecoin adoption because of the high inflation rate there. Obviously, the U.S. and China and others, are just the largest ecosystems. But I'd say, Japan may have been most forward-thinking in terms of active engagement and regulatory standards that made sense and really became pervasive around things like disclosures and kind of exchange best practices. In Korea, kind of the unique angle was just the sheer penetration and speculation, for better and for worse, during kind of the excess in 2017. Is there something today that you think sets the Indian ecosystem apart, or what, when the story is written in 10 years looking backwards, what do you think will be the unique value add that Indian entrepreneurs or the Indian ecosystem writ large was able to contribute to move things forward?
See, I think I would say one of the biggest contribution that we would make is giving crypto that mass adoption that today seems to be lacking. And if you look at in India, usually we're late to the party in terms of products online, be it Twitter, be it Facebook, be it Instagram. We're late to the party, but when we come to the party, we come in large numbers. And that's what I see happening to crypto because of India. Maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, if the pace of development keeps up, and we are able to reach a stage where mass audiences can use crypto products, I think India will be one of the biggest contributor, because the rate at which awareness of crypto is spreading today, it's mind-boggling. Tens and thousands of people discover crypto every day in India now, and that's going to just bubble up. Tech, the network effect model, when it catches up in the next 6 to 12 months, it's going to bubble into tens and millions of people in India understanding crypto. And when that happens, and if you have products that cater to the Indian audience, or to the right kind of audiences out here, you'll get millions of people using your product. And the best thing is, Indians use global products. If you see how India behaves as a country, it's not close to only Indian-made products. It uses products globally made. Like, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we are everywhere, wherever there are good products. So the beauty is, the whole world can build for India. It's not like only Indians have to build for India. anyone in the world can build for India. And India has a ton of enthusiastic young population which can actually adapt and start using these products. I think that's going to be the biggest contribution in the next 2 to 3 years. We are the users.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna hold you to that, and you heard it here first. The Indian retail users, the young populace, is going to be the catalyst for the next major bull run, and maybe it'll be the rupee premium versus the kimchi premium from a couple of years ago in Korea. Nischal, where can people find you online, and how can they learn a little bit more about WazirX?
So I'm on Twitter. Nischal Shetty is my handle, and you can go to WazirX.com. And if you're watching this, you obviously are into crypto, but at least tell your friends to at least understand what crypto is, and we are happy to help you onboard that.
Excellent. Nischal, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be in touch soon.
Thanks for having me on the show, Ryan. It was great.